Welcome to Gun News in 5 minutes or less. This is brought to you by the Gun News and Reviews channel. Welcome to a special edition of Gun News in 5 minutes or less, where we're going to talk about U.S. gun makers. This edition will run 6 minutes and 56 seconds. Now, here at Gun News and Reviews, we have done a number of stories about who's bought who and who's merged with who and so forth in terms of American gun manufacturers, most notably this year, the purchase of Colt by CZ, or the spin-off bankruptcy and restart of Remington Arms under the name of Rem Arms, owned by the Roundhill Group. So we've talked about that extensively, and maybe one of the more followed stories is also the acquisition of the Marlin brand by the Ruger Company. Not the Marlin Company, but the Marlin brand and rights for manufacturing. A lot of folks have piped up in the comments section and wondered who does make guns here in America? Who are the American manufacturers of firearms? We've got a long list of storied names going all the way back to Remington, which was the oldest continual gun manufacturer. I've had people come in and say, no, it's Springfield Armory. And they don't realize that Springfield Armory, which was owned by the U.S. military, ceased to exist in the mid-'60s. And shortly thereafter, a company purchased the rights to that name and started a private manufacturing company not related in any way, shape, or form called Springfield Armory Incorporated. So you can see how someone might be confused with that. So here's the rules for what's going to constitute an American gun maker for purposes of this brief video. To quote the person who I consider to be by far the best YouTuber, Paul Harrell, there will be some caveats. First of all, you have to be a company that's owned by an American parent company. Great example of that would be Winchester. Both Browning as well as the Winchester Repeating Arms Company, are owned by F.N. Herstal, which is Belgian. And there's a lot of history between both of those companies and John Moses Browning. So you have to be a company that is an American-owned company that manufactures the majority of your products in America. Other people would say, well, what about Colt? They've been around forever. Colt was purchased earlier this year by CZ. CZ also owns Dan Wesson. So even though there's an entity called CZ USA based out of Kansas City, CZ is a company based in the Czech Republic and not an American company. The second caveat would be this. There's a ton of smaller companies, particularly in the space of manufacturing either complete rifles or parts and accessories for the AR platform. There are companies that are definitely American-owned, and they make their products in the United States. They just haven't been around that long, and they're kind of specialized, and they're kind of small in comparison. So Smith & Wesson started operations in 1856 in Springfield, Massachusetts. Smith & Wesson still does the majority of their manufacturing at this location as well, known for revolvers as well as their modern M&P series of pistols and rifles. Probably the most diverse civilian handgun and rifle offering out of any catalog is Ruger, who began operations in 1949, headquartered in Connecticut with operations there and manufacturing as well in Prescott, Arizona, and Mayodan, North Carolina. As reported, they now own the Marlin line of lever-action rifles. Remington Arms does not belong on here, Remington Outdoors. I put them there because for years they were dominant at number 1 or number 2 of American firearms manufacturers, but no more. There is a company called Rem Arms that we have and will continue to report on out of Ilion, New York under separate ownership, who will try to get some things restarted. Meanwhile, a company whose fates have gone the opposite direction is the Henry Repeating Arms Company, founded in 1996 in Brooklyn, New York, with manufacturing facilities in Bayonne, New Jersey, and Rice Lake, Wisconsin. With the sinking of Remington Outdoors and the great success that Henry has had in resurrecting the lever action in the U.S., they are currently either number 3 or number 4 of U.S. rifle makers. The O.M. Mossberg Company was founded in 1919 in North Haven, Connecticut. Still has manufacturing operations there, as well as Eagle Pass, Texas. Kimber Manufacturing started in 1979 in the Bronx, New York. Known mostly for their 1911 reproductions, they have moved their headquarters as well as their manufacturing facilities to Troy, Alabama. Savage Arms, guess who had to change their logo, was started in 1894, so they've been around a while in Westfield, Massachusetts, where they continue to do production, as well as Ontario, Canada. They also own Stevens Arms. Car Arms was started in 1995 in Greeley, Pennsylvania, and remains there. The Car Firearms Group also owns Thompson Auto Ordnance, as well as Magnum Research. Both of those brands are also manufactured in the United States. We briefly mentioned Springfield Armory earlier, and the company that we know today was actually started in 1974. Their headquarters and most of their U.S. manufacturing is located in Genesco, Illinois. Love to see your comments in the comments section, by the way. That seems to be where a lot of the discourse and dialogue takes place, and encourage you always to do that. I'm also going to leave a link in the description that is a very comprehensive listing, way beyond anything we could cover in a video anybody would watch, of all the gun manufacturers, the different accessories manufacturers, and so forth. So you can go and check out those links and don't have to come back to me and say I forgot something. I didn't forget something. I just chose not to include it in this presentation. For more content like this, please like and subscribe to Gun News and Reviews.